Follow us on social media, Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube. Don't forget to like.
So GTA, this film was actually a little bit of a challenge for myself because it is a very short film. It's about 2 minutes and 25 seconds, including the credits. And most of the stuff I write is long as like 10 minutes or longer. So it's very difficult to make more films when one, they're 10 minutes. So it already takes a lot longer to make a 10-minute film. Like sometimes it could take a couple months. But the problem with that is that there's less work in my portfolio as a director for narrative film. And I really wanted to challenge myself and learn how to tell stories on a very small scale. With the knowledge the existing knowledge that I already have as far as story structure and cinematography and editing, I have all the skills I need to make narrative films. But the one thing I struggle with the most is telling smaller stories, taking a moment and turning that into a story. As some of you are watching, you're probably also aspiring writers or filmmakers or directors, whatever it is. In some capacity, you want to get involved in film. And the most difficult thing is to tell a story you're satisfied with in a small amount of time, especially when you're starting out, because you want to add work to your portfolio, right? I don't have a lot of narrative work in my portfolio. I have a lot of music video work in my portfolio, but I hate making music videos. I've always wanted to make narrative films, and it's just very expensive to do because as independent filmmakers, we're funding this stuff ourselves. Unless if you have a group of friends and you're all going in on it, then good for you. But it's me, myself, and I. So it's very difficult for me to add work to my portfolio using simple opposing elements to tell small, interesting stories. So for Grand Theft Auto, my short film, it's a very simple situation. 2 people, 1 car, 1 goal. To simplify it, element A is like a situation or a place or a thing, and element B is putting that into conflict with something else. So for example, in Grand Theft Auto, my element A is a car that won't start, and my element B is a car thief. So that's how I basically came up with the story, was a car that won't start and a car thief. Like, let's have fun with that. So with your story, you want to create a moment that can be remembered. So for me, it was the moment, or I guess like the plot twist, is that these 2 characters were both trying to steal the same car. It's just one was obvious and the other was not. As one man struggles to start a car, another man struggles to steal it. But in the end, they both had the same goal. All right, so the budget for this film was $360. I spent $0 on equipment. If you're fortunate enough, like me, you already have your own equipment. For us, we shot this on the Canon R5C with a 50mm L series lens. That's the primary camera. And then we used a DJI Mavic 3 Pro Cine drone. The vehicle, which was a truck that belongs to my tío, he let us borrow it for free, but I did put gas in it, so I paid maybe like $40 for gas. The location was $0 because we went to a dead end area in Rialto, California. Rialto is where we grew up. The skeleton key that I used in the film, I used to repossess cars when I was younger, and it was a tool we kept with us on all times. So the skeleton key I already had. That was a $0 into the budget. Now, the Mauser, I actually bought this. This is a BB gun. It's not a real gun. So obviously, if you're going to shoot films and you're going to have a weapon, make sure it's a prop, make sure it's fake. This one is CO2 BB gun. And also have proper etiquette. Even if it's a BB gun, make sure you know some trigger discipline. Keep your finger off the trigger. And also, because of the location, we picked this dead-end area in Rialto. We didn't have to worry about police showing up and then being like, what's that guy doing with the gun? Think of your surroundings. Who's going to be around? Is someone going to see you with the gun and call the police and be like, I think something's going down over here? These people are trying to rob each other several times. So just be aware. The burlap sack, which I crafted myself, I used a stencil technique to create this stencil. The sack itself it came in a pack of, I don't know, like 5 or 6 of these, and it was like $20. But I did have to create the stencil to fit the bank robber look that I wanted for my cousin's character. And the biggest part of my budget went to my camera operator, because there's only 3 of us on the set. It was me, my cousin Eddie, and my camera operator. The only shot I really was in charge of was the drone shot. I piloted the drone for that final shot. The filming process took about 4 hours, maybe 4.5 hours, just the different camera setups. Even though they're very simple shots, the final shot was a little bit difficult because I had to have my cousin drive my camera operator's car while my camera operator was operating a gimbal to follow me as I was running. So that was probably the most technically difficult shot. But other than that, it was a pretty simple setup and it took about 4.5 hours. However, the audio for the day was trash. There was so much noise going on. There was like helicopters, planes, diesel trucks, just because in that part of Rialto, it's very industrial. So I had to sound design the entire film, which I usually do anyways. I sound design anything I work on, but I put a lot of sound design into this one in particular for a short film. It was actually kind of crazy the amount of sound design that went into this. And we had to do ADR for myself and my cousin's lines. Another thing too, if you've seen my other short film, One More Chance, my cousin Eddie also plays a character in that film. And I talk about this in the behind the scenes for that film as well, that my cousin cannot remember lines in scripts that I write. He can't remember lines in anything. He's just is terrible at remembering lines, but he's really good at performing. And myself included, because I might be writing the script, but I myself also have trouble remembering my lines. But what I do to keep myself or my actors on track if they're having difficulties remembering an entire whatever the dialogue is I like to give a direction. Like, for example, imagine yourself trying to steal a car and then it won't start, and then you're gonna blame the guy you're stealing it from. And so in a nutshell, that's kind of how I operate when it comes to the direction of my script, I guess. The script is kind of more like an outline, and I'm not really married to the actual dialogue itself. It's more the information and the direction. For the audience, you just need to know that this guy's trying to start the car, this other guy's trying to steal the car, and he realizes it won't start, so he's making the other guy start it for him. That's the information that the audience needs to know. And so as long as my actors can improvise that information, I'm good. I'm happy with it. And it feels more natural. But yeah, and two, for the sound design, it was nice to have a little bit of help because, like I said, I do all this stuff, but it's me, myself, and I when I'm making these films. But for the sound design, I actually had my pops come through and he helped me create some of the sounds. And that was cool too, to just have my pops there and be part of this film. So shout out to my pops. Love you. But anyways, yeah, so total budget 360, but I am going to submit it to some film festivals. So that'll be a totally separate budget because it costs money to send them to each individual film festival. Maybe I'll try to send it to like 15 or 20. It's a small film, but you can send it to like 30 film festivals and you might get into like 2. So I'm going to try to submit to maybe like 15 or 20, and maybe hopefully I get into at least 1. But I'll make a separate video about the film festival run if it's even worth making. But other than that, that's my short film. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it yet and you just came here because you saw behind the scenes video and you wanted to, if you're one of those people that likes to watch behind the scenes, hopefully you want to go watch the film now. So it's called Grand Theft Auto, starring myself and my cousin, Eddie Moreno. But anyways, yeah, thanks for your guys' time, and I'll see you in the next one.
For more uneducated expert analysis on film and cinema and the creative field in general, follow us on Twitter at ghettoplex_mp4, on Instagram at ghettoplex.mp4, and subscribe to us on YouTube at Ghettoplex.